Outdoor Warehouse brings you the For Every Adventure podcast, where seeking adventure is a lifestyle.
Yeah, I must say, loads of advice, inspiration, and I want to say this one's for the ladies, but Kyle, you learned just as much, eh?
I did. But you know what? This one is for the ladies. This is about empowering women, and this is released in Women's Month. So have a listen, and fathers, take your daughters out. You're going to hear this in the podcast as well. Mothers, empower your daughters. Women can do everything men can do, and especially when it comes to the outdoors. Have a listen and see why I'm saying that.
This is the For Every Adventure podcast. Climb in as we learn everything we need to know about the great outdoors. Welcome to For Every Adventure. This is your podcast, proudly brought to you by Outdoor Warehouse. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Chanel?
I'm fantastic and quite excited for today. So we're chatting to Project Flamingo's Lou today, and it's all about adventurous women, but also this non-profit organization that's called Project Flamingo.
Yes, Project Flamingo, an NPO that focuses on giving women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer access to the care and support they need, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Some of the bravest people I know are people who have had battles with cancer, not only the patients.
It's also about the support and the team around it, and also that lifting of morale of the patient. So I think that's very important. And the outdoors plays a real big role in that. You know how us women really tend to stand together?
Yeah.
And when it comes to adventure, there's that spirit of upliftment, sort of being there for each other, supporting each other. And it comes with all the challenges as well. But I think, you know, adventure can really just lift morale in a way that other things and, you know, get-togethers really can't do it.
Exactly. And we're going to find out so much more about that, about Project Flamingo. It's going to be a fun episode, and I'm ready to climb in. Discover the ultimate outdoor adventure at Outdoor Warehouse, your go-to one-stop destination for top-quality outdoor gear and apparel. Become a rewards member today and receive exclusive member-only savings on top brands, access to new product launches, and automatic competition entries. Sign up at one of our 37 stores nationwide or online and let the adventure begin. Outdoor Warehouse. For every adventure.
Adventure enthusiasts, we've got a thrilling chance for you to win a 500 Rand Outdoor Warehouse gift voucher. Simply listen to this episode of For Every Adventure. Find the answer to the question in the description and DM us your answer on our social media channels. It's that easy. And don't forget to check out future episodes of For Every Adventure for even more chances to win big. Outdoor Warehouse. For every adventure. For Every Adventure, where we explore all the best in outdoor adventures.
Excited to introduce to you Lou from Project Flamingo, the NPO. First of all, thank you for joining us in studio, and how are you?
Thanks for having me. This is great. I always find when I listen to podcast, people always say, thank you for having me. So there's my chance to say that. Thanks for having me. I'm great. Thank you very much. How are you guys?
Great.
Good.
So I think let's start off with the mission statement of the NPO, Project Flamingo, and how does that relate to the outdoors?
Yes. So Project Flamingo, we've been around for 14 years. We've done this work. We wish we weren't around. This is quite a bold statement to make, but we wish our services wasn't needed. Honestly,
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yes, and we mainly work in the public healthcare system of South Africa, which we all know is slightly restrained.
Yeah.
There are a lot of challenges. We provide timely, compassionate care to breast cancer patients in the system who are faced with extreme waiting periods and barriers and issues to kind of just get access to basic treatment. The majority of the work we do are surgical. It's a surgical intervention program that effectively gives people free mastectomies. I don't want to use the word free because it comes, there's a major operation behind it, but effectively It takes vulnerable people, it puts them in the theatre as soon as they can be operated on because there's many barriers to that as well. But then we provide these surgeries, and by doing that, we're opening up more time slots. So we actually effectively make more time slots available in the normal system during the week. So the state doesn't operate on Saturdays. We utilize those theatres on Saturday mornings. Anaesthetists, surgeons come in, they give their time and expertise as volunteers, which is incredible. I mean, we cannot run this operation without them.
That's amazing.
We've got some other expenses that we cover, and then we basically open up a surgery day, and we provide, we slot those people in, and these women get life-saving treatment.
Wow.
Together with that, you cannot just look at a patient and say, let's give you a mastectomy and off you go. You know, there's cancer is a multidisciplinary treatment system. So we also do what we call patient support. We visit every single patient on a Friday before they go in, and we talk to them. We give them a pamper pack. This has become a symbol of hope. I mean, we've had 15,000 through all the years we've handed out.
Wow.
It restores femininity. It lets them know that they're not alone. And I can personally vouch for the incredible effect it has when you just say to a patient, hold their hand and you say, how are you? Nobody asks them how they are. Nobody says to them, you're not alone. Nobody does the small things that is actually the big thing.
The most important thing to them at the point.
The surgery, yes, that is life-saving.
Yes.
But the people forget that the emotional support is also life-saving.
It's not only clinical.
100%. And unfortunately, because the system is so restrained, there's no capacity for that.
Yeah.
You can understand that a doctor doesn't have time. It's got 5 minutes to tell someone you've got breast cancer, see you next week, or see you in a month, or see you in 12 weeks, or in 6 months, which unfortunately is a reality sometimes.
And that's mostly the only conversation that's ever had about it.
100%. And the lack of information when you actually, never mind, I mean, we're talking awareness, yes. Pink Ribbons, October, there's a lot of people doing work in that space. But for us, we have to we have to deal with the patient once they're in trouble, once they are diagnosed. And unfortunately, over 54 to 74% of people that come in are late stage. And that's due to a myriad of factors in South African health services. And the rurality of the patient, I mean, we can go on, that is a podcast unto itself. The point is, they come in, we try and help them as best we can. We support the infrastructure around it. We support them as people. And we try and do that to the best of our ability. Again, we shouldn't exist, but here we are 14 years later.
So I suppose you mentioned that waiting period. I'm just thinking,
Yes.
you know, in terms of a patient, that must be the worst time and when you need the most support.
100%.
And I'm trying to think how your team can really make a difference then. And how does the outdoors also relate to that?
I always say a cancer journey is very much like an adventure. It's not one of the nicest adventures that you can probably go on. But it's got the ups, it's got the downs. It's a lot. The waiting periods are nail-biting. They are often, as you said, they are the worst. They are literally the worst. And that's we're in the business of time. So we try and make that as short and as painless as possible.
I see. Okay.
But honestly, when it comes to that when we compare an outdoor journey or a discovery of yourself, which is actually what it is when we step into the outdoors, right? We meet ourselves for the first time. I've seen patients meet themselves. I've seen women in their 50s, in their 60s, in their 40s, their 70s meet themselves for the first time, because an illness forces you inward. And it opens up a space in yourself where you probably went, oh my word, I never knew how strong I was. I never knew how resilient I was.
Yes.
And this is the kind of magic and I guess the beauty of doing this work is getting to see that. And it's the same thing I see with women when they discover the outdoors, what I experienced for myself as well.
Wow,
you do not know how strong you are until you are faced with what seems to be the most impossible thing. The most impossible thing. Like getting a life-threatening disease burdened onto you, your family, your husband, there are so many things at play. It's your femininity. Because a mastectomy, effectively, for many women, is a loss of self. It's a loss of identification. And I've seen people get into all sorts of weird things after breast cancer because they're like, I'm going to take life by the horns. If I'm going to survive this thing, you're not going to know me after this. I'll be a different person. They prioritize themselves, whatever.
Wow.
There's this wonderful Dr. Maria Christopoulos. I can't say it.
Sounds good.
Anyway, she's got an Instagram called The Awakening Doctor. And she's an integrative health practitioner, much like our founder, Leona Rood, who started Project Flamingo, which is an origin story that, blows your mind. They say they cannot be cured. They might not be cured, but they can always be healing. And when people are faced with end of life, and I had that experience with my own father, if people are faced with end of life, it's incredible what happens and the awakening we have where we go, oh my word, this is what it's all about. And that's the beauty of a disease. Within all this terrible, and I haven't even experienced this for myself, but I see it and I can be an advocate for it, or I can speak to it or for it. Just having seen what happens. But that is it's the same thing. We come into a space where we meet ourselves for the first time, maybe for the second time, for the third time, and we go into that wonderful space where healing is possible.
Wow. You know, Carl, we've spoken a lot about challenges, climbing mountains, and how
overcoming.
Overcoming, and how the mental aspect plays such an important role. And I've never really thought about it this way. Because it's the same sort of mental capacity that you need going into this journey, as you called it.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful that there are people like you that's willing to hold hands. So, it's just fantastic. And especially for women, I think it's also such an uncomfortable thing to talk about. And a lot of women probably also feel like they can't really discuss the full extent of it with their male counterparts or family members.
Yeah, it 100%. I mean, it's a very personal journey, and the difficult conversation often comes up. What am I going to tell my husband? How am I going to speak to my kids? Because I can feel it in my body, but how am I going to convey what I'm going through with the people around me? And facilitating that is a major gap in this, in handling this disease worldwide. I mean, facilitating what those people go through. What are the things that motivate them? What are the things that they need? They don't need another buck of lasagna being delivered. They need someone to say, how are you? How are you feeling? Can I just sit here? Can we just look at the sunset together? End of life, people who've experienced end of life, they always would say, you ask them, what do you do with your time? They're like, oh no, I sit in the garden and I look at the birds. That's, sometimes it's as simple as that. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I think you start appreciating the things you took for granted. And it's such a brave journey to go on. And just coming back to the outdoors, the comparison to me is fantastic, as you mentioned. Think about climbing a mountain. You've got this massive hurdle in front of you. Mentally you're going to be tested. Physically you're going to be tested. You can prepare as much as you want, but when you're close to the top, it's you and it's this path in front of you. So just again, fantastic comparison. But bringing it back to the outdoors, where did your passion come from for the outdoors?
Oh my word, it's slightly embarrassing to tell this story always, because I've been living in Cape Town for a very long time. I grew up in Paarl, in the vineyard, cycling and playing with my brother outside, and we were quite outdoorsy kids. But then I moved to the city, and I was in an all-girls school. And can I just shout out to Girls Eye, Paarl, at this point, quickly. They now have an adventure club.
Oh, nice.
And on the weekend, it was an all-girls group who went hiking up to the arch in the Cederberg. They went through the cracks and all that. And I was like, I wish it was there when I was at school. But anyway, that is part of this conversation, right? Then I moved to the city. I lived in a city adjacent to a national park. In fact, a world wonder. Do you think I ever put my foot on that mountain for, 15 years or whatever?
Yeah,
it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And at the same time sad, and at the same time I understand, and I have huge empathy for myself and for other women, because this is my origin story, right? I lived in Cape Town. I was all about the gym, all about the running in the road and so on.
I wonder what that's about, though. It's like the mountain is there, so it's always going to be there, so you'll get to it.
Oh, no, on a Saturday we'll maybe attempt Lion's Head, take the cable car, and then have a glass of wine and come down. Which there now is a wine bar. All the reasons for climbing that mountain. So basically, road running, gymming, active. I considered myself. And then I studied at Stellenbosch. Can we just also, another embarrassing moment, and never spend time climbing Jonkershoek or on the trails there. Anyway, so then lockdown happened. And as many of us have a lockdown story where things change. The same thing happened for me. A lot of changes, big changes in my life at that point. And there was always this lure of the mountain, but it was never I was never courageous enough or brave enough to really take it seriously and listen to that. And this is what I actually want to get to when we speak is listen to that instinct that says to you, that's where you belong. That's where you want to be. And there's always this yearning. And I look at people climbing Lion's Head in the middle of the night. I'm going, these people are nuts. But something in me was like really going, wow, I admire that, right?
Yes.
And then when everything around me started falling apart and COVID and drama, I just decided, you know what? I bought myself a pair of trail running shoes and I've been following this group for 2 years called Chicks Who Trail on Instagram. 2 years I've been a voyeur, right? Looking at these people having fun, and I thought, no, this has to stop. So one day I pitched up in a parking lot with the shoes under my arm. I bought myself a bladder. I went all out. Like I was kitted from head to toe, not setting foot on this mountain. There are all these people, these women, everybody's happy, they're smiling. They say, okay, beginners, you go here. Obviously I joined that group. And we did what we call the lower Lions Loop, which is the lower part of Lion's Head.
Okay.
And I remember running in this little train of women, thinking, at this moment, I'm living my best life. If I die tomorrow, I'll be so happy because I've got to experience it. That's where it started for me. And I never stopped. You need that. We need that as women. We need to feel, here's a group of, like, as you said earlier, we're cheering each other on. You're building ankle strength. You're getting to know the mountain. You learn routes, but in a safe community. And then when you're strong enough, you kick yourself out, basically, and you go do your thing. And you join other trails and you move. And I've moved down already. I moved areas. But the point is, that was where I realized this is what I want. And this has been 3 years now.
Okay.
And so many trail shoes later.
Wonderful.
And now I'm running marathons and I'm just living my best life and I'm hiking and I'm out. And it something clicked. And you can't explain to people. You can only say, that's what happens to you. And what happened then was all of a sudden now you got this confidence. Where do you go with all this confidence? And not overconfidence, just there's a strength that you discover and that spills into your life. And then about 2 years ago, my father got cancer and it was a very short, he was already very, it was stage 4, so there was nothing they could do for him. But we had a end of life experience at a hospice with a palliative care doctor. That was the most one of them. I don't think I've experienced anything like that in my life as life changing, except for the trail running. That was one kind of aspect of it. And I realized, what am I doing with my life? Why am I call it feeding the machine. It's not really that, but it's more like I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do purposeful work. And at that time, so after he passed, I thought, okay, and my whole life there changed as well. So I've discovered the outdoors, and then I discovered the cancer journey and how difficult it is for people to navigate, and I wanted to make a difference. And then my friend, Dr. Ruud, who started Flamingo, actually needed someone, and it kind of just worked.
Oh my
It was one of those worlds, and now I trail run and I work in breast cancer, which is so different to what I did before. And it's all thanks to, I think it's because you discover parts of yourself that was hidden, and that has major knock-on effects in your normal life.
That's wonderful. And it's all led to sort of a purpose. And I mean, there's nothing better than that to drive you, is having this purpose when you wake up in the morning.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like I've been missing something because I'm 33. I've been in the Cape for 33 years and I've never been to Table Mountain.
Oh my goodness.
I've maybe been to Tamboerskloof. That's probably the closest thing. So maybe there's an epiphany waiting on Lion's Head.
I vow to take you.
Okay.
There we go. I like that.
Yes.
There's one thing that I picked up on there is how you decided you were first checking out this group on Instagram. And sometimes when you look at these people hiking, because I also do the same thing, you're like, okay, that was enough for me. Like, I've seen it all. But
I've seen someone hiking now. I'm satisfied.
But it's like they make you tired when you look at them. But the thing is, you joined the group, and there's something about that group feeling. Because I can tell you now, I've decided to, I could just woke up one day doing Lion's Head on my own. But it's like fantastic. Like, I absolutely loved it. But then there are all these little voices speaking to you about safety and going again. And, so I think the group feeling is so important.
Yes.
And that's probably a way for people that's never done this. Kyle, we need to find you a group.
Oh, there are many groups you can join.
There are
and you
many
know
groups.
what? Beginner is the best. Like, it's when you go skiing. As South Africans, we don't go ski on the black slope the moment we arrive. We're with the kids and we make a complete embarrassment of ourselves and we're falling around. But that, it's like you learn to walk.
Yes.
And there are so many groups that are so welcoming. I find this community exceptionally welcoming. They're not. It's not a cliquey vibe at all. All this that I've experienced. I found the men to be exceptionally my biggest cheerleaders in some of these groups are guys going, "Come on, Lou, you can do this." I'm dying, I'm falling on the side. They're like just one foot in front of the other. Like we cheer. There's a massive cheerleading effect.
That's wonderful.
And we've got this concept of sweeping and leading that you learn when you start doing trails, any form of trails. So someone leads, they look at the front and make sure there's no dangers and whatever, and keeps everyone in check, and the sweeper leaves nobody behind. And in the middle, you're kind of just trying to keep up.
You're surviving.
So you're surviving. And that concept is so good for life because you need the guidance and you need someone to look after you. And for that time, you don't do either of that. You just hang in the middle until you feel the confidence. I remember the first time someone asked me to lead a group, I was like, what? Must I? What? Me? And the confidence you get when someone sees something in you and says, yes, I think you're ready.
Yeah.
It's almost like a rite of passage in a weird way. Yeah. And I do most of my adventures now with a group of friends who've become very good friends and women. And we often go out and then we're just badass women in the mountains. And it's an incredible feeling.
I love that idea. Is this growing or is it an age thing? Like, I'm just trying to understand why there's so many. I mean, literally this morning I got another invite to a hiking group. So there's so many people that's discovered this, or do you think it comes with a certain age bracket? Like, I'm just wondering.
It's a very, the mountain. So those people who were on the mountain before COVID, and I exclude myself from this, will tell you that the mountain is it's busier, it's more diverse, and it's more visited than ever. And I'm talking Table Mountain now because, we speak to a national audience here, but, I don't know if it's the same elsewhere, but Cape Town mountains is like Canal Walk. It's like a mall. You go to Constantia Neck on a Saturday morning. Everyone and his uncle and his dog and the potato salad and what is in tow up on the hill. They on their way. And is there a better thing to see? Is there a better thing to see than young kids in a group just discovering stones and sticks and flowers and animals and baboons and whatnot, all the dangers that and paranoid mothers and so on. So I think it's a COVID thing. I think COVID shook us up, but I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's a movement now to say it's a movement. It's a zeitgeist. It's a consciousness that we are all going, this is amazing. Why haven't we appreciated it? And remember, we cannot protect, talking climate change, talking ecosystems, we cannot protect what we don't understand and what we don't know. So this people moving into the outdoors is great news for protection of biodiversity, because you will care about that fire lily and you will care about that little frog because you've seen it, because you're actually there.
That's true.
Yeah, and you're not on your phone.
I'm wondering about some of the challenges, especially for women in the outdoors. I mean, I think firstly, it's a safety thing. So we've spoken about safety in numbers, so that's one way around it. Are there any other challenges that you think especially women would face?
There are many, and I think that is why we haven't seen, or let me put it this way, that is why we're seeing currently a massive resurgence of women-only adventure groups, not just in South Africa, in the world. There's a boom of this. Because COVID, obviously now, as we spoke earlier, I think opened up this whole concept of you can be spacious, you can be away from people and be in there. That's where you get the space, right? Is when you're outside, when you're not with people. And then this resurgence of groups. But there are many barriers or many safety is in South Africa. You'll be stupid if you don't consider your own safety. So yes, groups, whatever. Groups work well because groups but it doesn't always warranty absolute safety, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. But there's what we call the gender normative expectation. So it's not woman's place. It's scary. Think of the stories we were told as kids. Little Red Riding Hood. What's going to happen to you when you go into the woods? Those things are ingrained, and it's social. It's a social normalization. It's especially for girls. You're not as strong. You're not as, and that's changing, thankfully, thanks to all of these groups and things and emerging. Then there's the lack of role models. REI, they did a thing last year or the year before, and they asked women in a poll, can you name a female outdoor role model that you not aspire to be, but admire or whatever. And 63% of women couldn't. They couldn't.
That's very true.
So think if do you guys have like female role models in the outdoors? I mean, you got to kind of go.
Yes.
But if you ask them your favorite singer, your favorite actress, your favorite gym person or whatever, they'll be like, oh yeah, Taylor Swift, or, there'll be myriad of answers.
Also you can, this is quite a thing. I've never thought about it. You can name a couple of guys, all the adventure, like there's TV programs, the whole works, but the females haven't really gone into it, to that extent with such focus.
I mean, the Jasmine Paris, who was the first woman to complete the Barkley Marathon recently, was probably the biggest news ever in this world. Or it made like normal news. It made like the BBC was all over it, because people were like, a woman finished the Barkley Marathon with 99 seconds to spare. Are you nuts? She's a mother of two. Like if you start digging into the stories of, and I consider myself a bang average outdoor person, right? Of bang average women and the stuff that they do, it is absolutely incredible and it deserves the storytelling. 100% deserves the storytelling.
Now, breaking this barrier, how do you see us as women going, come on? How do we break it?
Let's go, girls.
It's not it's a Shania. It's a head thing and it's a heart thing for me. You got to be there physically and do the things. You can't expect change if you're not in the arena.
Yes.
So like Brené Brown, do like a bit of Brené Brown, but she always says, don't talk to me from the seats.
Yes.
Come stand here.
Yeah.
Come stand here in the middle and then we talk.
Get in the arena.
Get in the arena.
Yeah.
So we have to be there in order to take up the space. We can't academically envision something. We can't. But then once we're there, we need to internalize that.
Okay.
It's one thing to walk, I'm going hiking in Newlands Forest, versus what am I learning? How am I going to raise my kids? If I have a daughter, am I going to say, oh, Nia, you can't go? It's a mental thing and it's a societal thing, and then it's an internal thing that we need to get to. So we have to make the groups. We have to encourage each other. We have to be body positive. We have to, instead of putting other people down, you got to bring them up. You got to include people in the outdoors. You got to make it an option. You got to stand for it and represent it. And people who organize races and the structures that hold these things up, the retailers, everybody, it's everybody's role to fill that space for women.
That's so true.
It's not just up to women to go and say, I'm gonna. It's a head and heart thing. And then, and what I mean by internalizing is you really have to believe it. Like it doesn't help you fight, and you fight for the space, and you tell everybody you're so brave, and you go out, but you don't pass it on or really believe it and live and embody it over time, which I think is kind of in my very short period of outdoor. I'm venturing into that now. The discomforts go away. A lot of things go away where you're really facing yourself, and that's as a woman, is a massive honor. And I think being alive in this time is brilliant.
I see a lot more strength in women. I think men are in their own way very strong, but my wife inspires me the way that she just carries on through this. I have an 8-month-old now, and how she just powered through pregnancy, what it did to her body, how she smiled going into the operating room for the C-section. I mean, it's incredible. I'm sitting out there losing my mind, and she's the one calming me down, but she's the one experiencing it. I have a lot of respect for that type of strength, because I don't know how much of that I have. But I see it especially in women.
I actually wanted to comment on that because I did a race over the weekend called the Kromrivier Beast, and it's called the Beast, let me tell you, for a very good reason. It is a monster of a trail. It's 44 Ks in the Cederberg and whatever. And what was so interesting is the race, the 44 I did, there were equal women and men entering. Now, the night before with the race briefing, this man put the fear of God in us all. And I'm like, he was like, there's no water for the first 20. You basically radical self-reliance. He was going on about how difficult and hard this is. And let me tell you, wow, there they all toe up. We're half-half. These women powering through, because you meet them on the trail and you're kind of chatting. And this one part, this woman came down this mountain. Guys, now we've been doing, 30, at that point, kilometer 38 or something, another hill, another mountain to climb in the torrential rain. And this chick says, can someone just help her put something back in her pack? And someone asked her, what is that? She's like, it's a breast pump. And even I went, what?
Seriously?
This woman has just done she's on her way to finish a 44-kilometer race. Guys, this was an hour 8 of being out there. And she used a breast pump because she has to. And this is part, it's part of life. But that's incredible.
Yeah. Ball comes in, let's do it. Running, doesn't matter.
Pump and off you go, finish the race. Ace. Wow. Husband's wonderful. He spent the whole day looking after the baby. We saw them the next day. I'm just like, I'm loving this because it just shows you that just because you're postpartum, you don't have you can still race. You can still be out there and enjoy.
Yeah, that takes a lot though. So hats off to that lady.
No, 100%. Like that is my hero. The resilience of everyday people, and this is Flamingo as well. It literally, this woman will lie in the bed, just had a mastectomy, wake up, says to you, how can I help? Can you please take my number? Let me know how I can help. That resilience of normal people, of the average Joe and Joanne out there is insane.
Wow.
Let's explore how Project Flamingo provides resources and mentorship and also a sense of belonging for the women seeking these outdoor experiences.
Yes. So our time with our patients are limited because we focus on the surgeries, patient support, etc. We don't always get that. We don't see them from beginning to end. That journey onto itself is a very difficult thing to get involved with. But what we do advocate for is a concept called deliberate living. It says basically that there are 10 concepts to it. I'm not going to go into all 10, but one of them is movement and mindful eating. Mindful eating is the one, movement is the other, and respect for your body and like a renewed sort of awareness of what your body just went through and is capable of. So the outdoors and a walk in nature, walking in your garden, in your local park, etc., or finding natural spaces to heal in. I mean, the research is there that it's exceptionally healing for people with cancer to be in natural spaces. I mean, you can read all over the internet about it, but the point is we advocate for those for mind, body, soul healing, not just taking care of your wound, but taking care of everything else.
Okay.
And the outdoors, not obviously exceptional trail running, like not hiking 5 days, but like just being in nature, just seeing the natural or restoration and order of things to just be there is incredibly healing, and we advocate for that. We can't facilitate that. Like I can't take people in a bus somewhere at this point, but we would say, that's part of your healing journey and kind of learning to take time for yourself. This is often what we see. Women going, when can I do the washing again? When can I do this again? And you're like, no, now is your time. This disease has come along to teach you something. And if you take an hour in the morning to go on a short hike or to just walk in a forest, that is what you do. Do so safely, but
yes,
that you deserve that.
Wow. There's also the sense of all of a sudden there's a realization of, it's almost a fear of this can be taken away so easily. And then there's that renewed living. So I love this. That's wonderful. This, what do you call it?
Deliberate living.
Deliberate living plan.
Yeah.
I've also found when you're in nature, I mean, it's obviously mentally and physically, it's very good for you. And I think I want to find out a few tips for when I'm in nature now, I'm doing my trail run, I'm walking, I'm just sitting and looking at the sunrise or anything like that. How do you really just place yourself where you are? How do you let go of the thoughts? I mean, when you're diagnosed with breast cancer and you go out to the nature, I mean, it's going to be so hard just to really forget about that and then center yourself where you are. Are there a few tips you have to make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, usually where you find yourself, hopefully your phone's not working.
That's a big thing, huh?
It's a big thing. It's a big reason why I do these things is because I'm not lured into Instagram doom scrolling or, as we all do, I mean, let me not. Let me not, but that's definitely, I can get into a vortex of cat videos very easily.
I go Mal. That's all that's been going on in my head for a week.
So, exactly. So the nice thing is you generally don't have signal. So that is out of the way. You cannot, I almost want to say once you're there, it's you're so submerged in the beauty, or you could become so, if the safety barriers also sort of move to the side, right? So you've got people around you maybe, or you. It's very difficult not to be almost not for your breath to be taken away by how incredibly stunning it can be, because it's so different to what we do every single day. We don't spend enough time in wild spaces. So when we do get there, it's not as difficult, but it's also about the ritual, and it's also about repeat. So doing it more often, because the first time you get there, like my breath still gets taken away by some of the views that I've seen now for 3 years. I'm still like, oh my God, this is incredible. But you need a few things to not be there in order to submerge. So safety shouldn't be that massive concern, and your phone should be off effectively. And if you can share it with someone, great.
Yes. Nutritional advice, maybe, because you need a lot of energy to do these things.
Listen, Captain Snacky over here can, that's what they jokingly call me, because there's always papers
Captain
everywhere.
Snacky.
I'm always like, there's always a snack being taken out of a bag when I'm around, because I constantly eat when I'm out. And that's one of the best parts. Trail snacks is a vortex unto itself. They are, but yes, as you say, you have to fuel. You have to fuel. And I think women's relationship with food and their bodies, I have personally found the outdoors an incredibly healing space for that, because your body carries you. Your body needs fuel to carry you. It's like you don't get that warped sense of, oh, I can't eat that, and oh, I can't eat that, and the scale and blah. It's actually about your renewed confidence in what your abilities are and wanting to keep your body strong and fueled for as long as you can. So you make very different decisions about nutrition.
Isn't that amazing?
It's incredible. Like I always say to people, like, hike for the snacks, man.
Yeah.
Get to the top and enjoy, because that's, there is nothing. There is a few things that get to a smashed peanut butter white bread, I might add, like squished, sweaty and squished with a view.
Okay.
I'll challenge you.
And a coffee.
And a coffee?
Yeah.
Yes, and a coffee if you can. And then also whatever else, your favorites. You'll discover your favorites. I love Courtney DeWalter's strategy, the ultra runner. She runs all over the world, and she's a machine and my personal hero. This chick, everywhere she goes, she was in Japan now. She did Mount Fuji 160.
Wow.
She goes into the shops, and everywhere she goes, she loves this. She loves candy, because obviously, this woman's running 160 kilometers. You need a whole Cadbury factory to keep you going. She goes, and then she discovers new sweets. So when she was in South Africa for UTCT, speckled eggs was literally, she went crazy about them, and she was like, speckled eggs, guys, that's where it's at. So I don't know what she discovered in Japan. I actually don't. It's probably some weird, like, sweet, sour umami business. But that it's the snacks. It's the snacks. And when people get into this stuff, nutrition, you're also a big thing. Muscle. Can we talk about nutrition and muscle? So protein. When your body is expected to perform at that level, or like to exert a lot of time, we have to put back. We have to nurture. And skeletal muscle and lean muscle is key. You can't live on carbs. You can, but you need protein, and you need to look after you. So you can do a lot of reading on what is needed. You can see a nutritionist if you want, but fueling your body properly and building that lean muscle and the strength to actually enjoy the mountain and not like feel like you're dying every time you go up a hill is a good strategy. And you get into that later, and it's a good thing to get into. Yeah.
Okay, so you're physically prepped for this race, and you've got your snacks and your peanut butter brookie ready. It's all mashed up and exactly how you need it. From a mental aspect, how do you prepare for a long race?
Someone said the other day, the Lord's Prayer. No, it's literally you know. If you're confident that your body can, the first time is quite hectic. And I must say, the first time I did a long, which for me is long, it's a marathon. I did it for my dad. I did it for, I remembered the pain that he was in, and I remembered that degradation of the body. And I remembered, someone wanting to live so badly and this getting taken away from him. And I thought, going into that marathon, I was like, I had his name on my arm. My mental prep was running for someone who couldn't. That was my mental prep, and I proved that my body could do it. But my motivations were very different. Where this time, I knew I was able to do it, and I was like, okay, I know now where the pain caves are. I know they're coming. I'm just gonna just plot through. But you need to you don't the anxiety goes away. It's more about the only way is through. And nobody's going to come fetch you. There's no helicopter and, man with a stretcher. You're just going to have to make it to the end. So the mental prep is one thing, but being on the trail and getting yourself, you think nice. You think of your cat. You think of nice things to get you through, like wonderful people. But as I said, my first one and the way I discovered that was I was running for someone else. Yeah.
Your purpose is a very powerful thing, be it something as powerful as that or a cat.
Exactly.
Purpose is purpose,
I just want to know, and be honest now, in the middle there, do you tell yourself, what the heck is wrong with me? Like, what did I think?
You do. And then you realize you can't. Like, I ran with my partner and we kept each other going, but and that helps. That helps a lot. The first one I did on my own, but then when I ran with my partner, I just, you doubt your life choices, 100% at that point. And, but then you say, look at the sunrise, or you see something and it distracts you almost. And then you know what? I'm rooted in the fact that I'm so grateful for this body that can do these things, and for someone to share it with. That's like I always say, sharing with someone who doesn't mind all this torrential rain and all the stuff. You just think, my family always goes, why? Like, honestly, really? Are you going again? And I'm like, yes. And I would enter it again because it's a journey, and it's with someone, and you discover parts of yourself and strength that you didn't know you had.
Is it more the accomplishment afterwards, or is it actually the little things that you go back to during the journey that makes you go again? Which one wins?
Look, I'm not going to lie. Afterwards, it's a very good feeling. It is, because I'm flooded with endorphins. You are. And the community and that finish line feeling is insane. But that's very short. That's like 3 seconds, of the 8-9 hours that you spend outside, because we take very long and we just take our time. It's the flower you've never seen. Okay. It's the rock formation that rarely people get to see because it's in such remote areas that it's not the arch or something. It's very different. There's a place called Luna Peak. Honestly, guys, it's the moon. It's the moon. It looks like the moon. There's a big crater thing at the top, and it's got funny. And you realize how privileged you are because your body gets to carry you here. And it's those micro moments. It's the Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola at the bottom of the peaks. It's everything. It's everything. And these micro moments kind of push you through. And the moment you check your watch, you're like, oh my gosh, 35. I've only got 9 to go. I'm dying, but I've only got 9 to go. And then you power through. So it's micro moments. It's a journey, and much like an illness, it's a journey. It's ups, it's downs. You're elated, you cry, you laugh, you see incredible people on the way. It's like a mini little life that you've got going there, and that keeps me going back. Like, I honestly.
Yeah, it's about the struggle. It always comes back to that. I mean, it breeds wisdom, I reckon, and strength. When you go through something really hard and you've overcome it, nobody picked you up and carried you over the finish line. You had to get through it. I mean, that makes you stronger for the next race.
Yeah.
Your passion for this is absolutely contagious. And I just want to commend you on that. And I think what you said in the beginning was literally just for those people that also feel like me now and realize, oh my word, this is literally the answer. To take that first step.
Yes.
To start and just not think of this, 44K race at first, but to literally just go and do the mini lion's head.
Exactly. And this is the thing, what people don't realize. It takes, I will definitely would have started running a marathon, 100% not. And if you told me 3 years ago I was going to run a marathon, I would have laughed in your face. The only reason I got to this point is because of small chunks of building confidence and strength over time. Because the mountains isn't, a body that doesn't run or doesn't do anything cannot do a 10K in the mountain all of a sudden, because it's a lot to do with your feet. There's a lot of physical things that you kind of need to understand. So I would say to people, start with a walk. Start with a walk in the forest. Just go and immerse yourself with a bunch of people. Go do it safely, and you're going to learn the lessons. You're going to make the gear mistakes. You're going to do all of those things, but that's all part of it. And give yourself 2 years to get into bigger things. If that's what you like. This is another thing. I started hiking with this group of friends and my partner and everything. And I was like, oh my word, this is so rough. This is so rough. This bag is so heavy and this is so uncomfortable. And I'm so cold. And I was a real moany pony. Honestly, I was the worst. I just ate and walked. and then realized over time, okay, the discomforts are feeling better. It wasn't like trail running where I would put my foot on the mouth, like, this is it. I love trail running. I like hiking. And I'm beginning to love hiking. So it doesn't mean that you need to, I want to say, like, go and, if you like mountain biking, then do that. But feel what feels good for you and then trust that instinct and take it slowly, do it safely, build your strength, go to the gym and do your weights because that's important as well. I mean, you're not going to find probably the inward journey as much at the Virgin Active, but you will build other strength and then give yourself time and get to know the people. And it's a ride. It's like, it doesn't happen overnight. And there are so many opportunities now, and we can put some links in the show notes or whatever if someone wants like links to groups and to where to or start your own group or whatever. But just do so safely and in group format where you can learn. It's like a nursery school, where the little birds learn to feed and then the mother kicks them out one by one. You eventually kick out and you do your own run and you feel like the best person in the world. But that happens a long time from the beginning.
So I think we've come a long way with the narrative around women and the outdoors. I think we've got some to go still. But how do we go about changing that? You've mentioned groups.
Yeah.
You've mentioned,
Yeah, groups. So and representation is very important. And as I said earlier, it's up to the structures, the race directors. We can talk about something. So barriers to entry, for instance, with ultra running is having women-specific bathrooms. Because a period can happen, and then you're on a race. Now, what do? You're a woman. It's a woman's body. It happens to half the world. Like people are so like almost apprehensive about it. But these are things that we consider when we enter races. Do I know where we're going? Do I know how far it is? What's the risk strategy? What's the emergency plan? Women want to know. Research shows that we want to know. The barriers to entry for us into these spaces are: am I going to be looked after? Am I going to be safe? Are my needs going to be catered to? And if the structures who put races on and events and so on look after women, represent the women in their photography and in their and not just women and men, I mean diversity, queer, color, everything. We need the representation so that people can look and see themselves and so that they can enter those spaces. Unfortunately, and this is just how it is, currently it's not as balanced and we need it more. But that's why I was so surprised with the previous race. There were so many women who entered. And I love seeing that. Your bigger races, the Mont Blanc, UTMB, only 23% of the entrants are women. And that's sad because I feel like we can do this stuff. We do it anyway. So, and I don't know what the reasons for that are, but those need to change. But we need to go there.
Is it just a physically more difficult race, would you say?
Mont Blanc?
Yes.
Or... I mean, it's got various distances and all that, but it's to get in, you need all sorts of points, and you need to run across the world, and it's quite a thing to get in. It's the sort of peak of trail running events, and for this, and currently that's the stats, and it is what it is. But as I say, and you can harp on about that, but if you're not there in this arena and you're not changing it and you're not advocating for it, my dream would be if I could start a small group of women. A nursery school. I call it nursery school, where I get them to walk. I get them to walk and literally find their feet. And from there, I want them to go. I don't want them to stay. I need them to then go into running groups and hiking groups and do other things. But just that first experience, making it more accessible, that first barrier. From there, women find their feet. They do their thing. Whether they like it or not, whatever. They pick their lane. It's that first thing. If you want to go walking now with a walking group, it's hard. The trail runners always say no beginners because they know it's a difficult thing. First time people on the mountain is tough, and you need spaces for that. So I reckon let's have those spaces.
Yes.
Schools need to take people on, like this shout out I did for Girls Eye. They took people out in the wild. That is wonderful. We need the representation, and I don't think people always understand how important that is. Seeing yourself represented at the highest level, at the middle level, and at your average park. In your area.
Yeah.
Seeing yourself there makes a huge difference. Yeah.
And what can the men do? The men on the ground, not the event organizers, the guys running with you.
Yeah.
What can they do?
like if you're anything like the crew I run with, you cheer, and you don't make people don't make a fuss. Like what I find these days is the groups I run, it's like it's not a thing. It's like it's almost like, but it's at a certain level where it doesn't become a thing. But always the cheerleading or letting people lead, say you can take the lead, take the lead. We're going, and it's not again. I don't experience it as much necessarily in the groups I'm involved with, but I do find it incredible. I find it very empowering when they cheerlead and they say, "No, man, you can definitely run that group, or you can lead this group," or just that vote of confidence without making it a thing.
Of course, it shouldn't be condescending at all.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And I think dads should take their daughters doing all the things that the dads and lads historically. Like I grew up in that very much like dads lads environment where it's like rugby and blah. I feel I play women's touch now. I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible, but it's a social experiment. And
Okay.
and I see girls play touch rugby, and I'm like, yo, this is insane. I wish it was when I was at school. Again, things have definitely moved along.
Yeah,
Yes.
But to tell the dads, take your girls out, man. Go do 4x4 trips and get hiking and get into that. It's not a boys thing. Like just don't make it a thing. Just do outdoor stuff with everyone.
True.
Yeah.
You spoke about taking the lead. So for me, that's not a trail runner. So does that literally mean setting the pace and
Yes.
sort of, it's not, I mean, I suppose it's not route, but it's pace-wise.
It's pace-wise. It's also knowing the route because, gosh, if you lead everyone off a cliff, it's not a plan. But we run in what we've got pacing. So if you're in a part of a community, there'll be the beginners or the trail enders. There'll be they're not beginners. They just prefer to go slower. So the trail enders, then there's the chills, usually the chills or the socials or the beer drinkers. They've got funny names. Then there's the middle packers, and then there's usually the speediums or the fasties. And you never see them. They like rock hopping rabbits. They're gone within seconds. So when you lead one of those groups, you generally have a pace that you stick to. So and it's all about morale and getting people together, and you know your route. And then the sweeper, which I love to be, because you just hang at the back and you just like, you're behind the slowest person. So effectively this whole train moves through. And what's so nice about Krommerrivier, at one point we had this all-women train going and we gave each other chances to lead. We weren't knowing where we were going. We just had a watch. So we kind of went and it's like, oh no, I'm not feeling it. And then you put your friend in the front and off you go. And it's like birds, basically, what they do when they fly. Like the one that feels strong is in the front, and it's a very natural order. So leading, and if you lead a trail group, it spills over into your work. Your confidence as a leader, lead people on a mountain, you can take leadership or take the lead at work. You can make decisions. You're confident in your approach to people, etc. There's a lot of skills that you learn on the mountain that is so applicable in real life. It's always a metaphor for life.
Yes.
That's what I find. So in the days you don't feel like leading, you hang at the back and you make sure the last one gets home. It's like, it's where you're at mentally on that day and physically.
There's space for absolutely everyone.
If you want to hang in the middle and just breathe, that's also fine.
Lou, so I'm sure in all your adventures, you've got some inspiring stories for us. Is there one thing that stands out for you?
Yes, definitely. I mean, there are many. And I think it's actually one thing I look forward to is to creating more of these stories with my partner and friends and family and whatnot. But I live in Muizenberg. So that was also a big change I made. I was like, why do I live in the city when I can live where I can run from my door to my trail that I love, and I can run to the surf if I want to surf, and I'm a beginner, but I love it, and we fall around in the water and it's lovely, but it's a lifestyle. And on that coastline, we have many. It's quite funny in the environment I live. My village, literally, it's called the Muizenberg Village. There are so many people who run NGOs. I find people who gravitate towards Muizenberg are people who are invested in community. Like I'm on the neighborhood watch.
Okay.
I run sort of patrols in the area and stuff. I'm actually quite a what I call safety officer. So if you haven't noticed, so basically that area is very much like there's a big consciousness around helping people and facilitating.
Involvement,
Exactly.
yeah.
So there's Waves for Change on the beachfront there that gets into the water from Vrygrond and Kailicha and so on. And they come and they break those barriers to entry in terms of actually it's very interesting. The kids serve because they let go of anger and issues that, social issues. And the mentors are all people from the community who was trained and so on. So it's a wonderful initiative.
And it can be absolutely life-changing for someone who doesn't know. And now you've experienced nature and you start
Opens
to
up a whole
respect
new
nature. Now you
world.
understand what
Yeah.
respect is all about and how to look after something. It can really just have
That's true.
such a massive knock-on effect in your life.
Yeah. One thing, can I just say one thing that is, I've never known this again, 15 years in Cape Town, the fire lilies. Do you guys know about the fire lilies? So every time there's a fire on the mountain, especially on my side, Silver Mine, everything burns to like nothing.
Yeah.
There's just sand. There's a lot of sand up there. And then in 2 weeks, and then generally it's a bit of rain, so I think it needs water as well. Then in 2 weeks, these fire lilies come out the ground. They're like bright red. Like I literally go up to go see. It's like a fire lily hunt. So we go up and then you see them, and they just live for a short while and then they go. And it only happens. They've tried to reproduce that in laboratories and things. It cannot. It's like magic from the.
Just this one window.
This one that it's like the March lilies that we see in March, and then the Watsonias that we see, and then you go hunting for Disas, and then all of a sudden you're like this quasi-botanist with more photos of plants on your phone than you've ever had.
Yeah, the cats have been replaced.
Yeah, well, in my life not yet, but definitely. And I once had to apologize to a coach. I had a coach for a short time. I'm like, guys, sorry, my times are so slow, but I can't help myself. There are so many beautiful things on the mountain. And then the most beautiful answer came on WhatsApp. He's like, Lou, that's what it's all about. Yes. And I was like, okay, fine. I get it. But you feel, you literally start looking. You're like, where's the details? Where are these things? You start looking out for that. The seasons are just so much more visceral when you're out there. And yeah, I mean, I can sit here for hours and talk about this stuff. It's life-changing on every possible level and so healing.
I think you should go Google fire lily if you're listening now. I know this is an audio medium, but I've just done it and it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, huh?
It literally looks like little flames.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's like a mini braai.
Like a mini braai after a fire.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly think that we all should know this, being Cape Townian.
Well, you know what? Today you decided to listen to this podcast and now you know it.
Yes.
100%.
Take the plunge into outdoor adventures with Outdoor Warehouse and the For Every Adventure podcast.
Are you ready to conquer the great outdoors? Outdoor Warehouse has everything you need for your off-road adventures. From power management to vehicle recovery, tire maintenance, fridges and freezers, and camping accessories, including furniture, tents, and so much more. Get ready to explore with Outdoor Warehouse, your overlanding gear destination. Available in-store or online. Outdoor Warehouse. For every adventure. So Lou, in your many experiences outdoors, you must have identified a few products that you really can't go on without, right?
100%. Like especially safety, because you constantly remote if you are doing these sort of further like overnight hikes, etc. You constantly find yourself 4 hours from any help or 10 hours or a day or whatever. So I have a few things that I generally, when I go on these longer expeditions or hikes.
It's an expedition.
Yeah, exactly. That we don't. So I would highly recommend a Life Straw product. The one that I particularly like, and it's because of its lightweight capability. It's a Life Straw Peak Series Solo. So it's like a little straw, and you can literally put it into a stream, any mountain stream, and you suck through it, and it removes all the bacteria and bad stuff, so you won't be sick, because you actually don't want to drink stagnant water and be sick. So you can boil it as well if you want, but I find the Life Straw to be incredibly useful, especially like shoulder seasons in summer when the water sources aren't great, and you need to access a puddle effectively to stay hydrated or to cook in. I know we did Fish River Canyon last year, and we had plenty of water, but people who went after us it was terrible. And then you are out on for 4 days, and you've got these little, so you gotta make it work. So I find the Life Straw, and it comes in a bottle, and it's got a trail running pouch as well, but the single one is great. You can take it anywhere. You can effectively take it to the mall if you really want to.
really
this
just
is
stick it
mind-blowing.
into a puddle and
Well, well, not like, you know what I mean with like a puddle. Like, you don't want to drink gunky, gross water.
Like a
But where
slightly less dodgy puddle.
Yeah, where you look like, okay, well, this doesn't look great. I might not trust this water. You want to, like free flowing water, and also things can die upstream. This is what we don't think about.
That's
An
the
animal
thing.
dies upstream and all, yeah, it's okay. So live straw, don't leave house without it.
Okay.
The next one is the Garmin Enricher. This one is the mini. Often, so I mean, this is the thing. People say, okay, well, what does it mean? It still means that you're gonna be able to like call a helicopter or whatever. You got a SOS button on it, or you can message your family, which is great. So if you're stuck somewhere, this is the problem. Someone can break an ankle, and then someone's stuck, and now you need help. And when you're so far out, it's instead of sending someone to hike out and then get signal, you've got signal right there. So I would almost recommend, because it's quite an expensive product, but I would also recommend in a group setting, you can buy one as a group and share the costs and the monthly subscription, and then people use it as they want to. Because generally we all hike together. So we've got one between, someone owns it, but we use this.
That's
and it
great
gives me
too.
peace of
Yeah,
mind.
it does.
Yeah, global satellite coverage.
Yeah, you press it, there's a SOS button and it immediately notifies, send your location in mountain rescue. Our mountain rescue, can I just also, in Cape Town, they are incredible. The people in South Africa, they are incredible. And they know how to coordinate. So you can at that moment ping someone instead of having another 6 hours wait. You know, things are, I am allergic to bee stings, so I carry an EpiPen.
Okay.
And this InReach gives me a lot of peace of mind knowing that, you know, we can get a chopper. Because someone I know, they did Rim of Africa, and a swarm of wild bees attacked the group. And there were allergic people in it and everything. They had it InReach and they could get help immediately. Those things that you don't think about. Like that story is still, it's my worst nightmare. Anyway, then a space blanket. So it's the cheapest. I promise you, this thing, you feel like a Woolworths chicken in in foil. You are so warm in that thing. It literally, because this is, you got to carry it on you. I always have it because you can get injured and then you're forced to spend time in either pouring or it gets cold or overnight. And this thing really, it's a lifesaver. I used it on Table Mountain once because cloud came in and we didn't expect it. And literally the cable car didn't go and blah. And we were stuck and we opened the space blanket and it's literally, it's incredible what the heat it generates.
So how long did you stay in your space blanket?
So we did India Fencer before work at one point when I was still living in town, like often. And this beautiful clear day, we're all in shorts and t-shirts, we go up. And you summit it from the back. And as we came around the back of Table Mountain, and then generally we take the cable car down because we need to get to the office. And we got to the top and we're like, oh my word, we're in this cloud. And this temperature dropped, like to the effect that I wanted to message my team, but my hands couldn't type. And I was like trying to voice note and blah. And then we took the space blanket, we went up against the sliding door of the cable car station and sat there trying to figure out whether the cable car is actually going to open at some point. And it didn't. They just let us know. They're like, sorry, no, you make your own way down. So anyway, three of us and other people. And so we're all sitting under the space blanket, and it was hot. It was nice. And then we kind of just walked down Platteklip and 100, 200 meters down, I had to start taking off all my clothes. It was so hot. So this microclimates that the mountains cause, people don't understand that within a kilometer, there can be a temperature drop all of a sudden. And space blanket, take it with you wherever you go. Even if you're going, I don't know, somewhere.
That's great advice.
It's not even outdoors.
And as you mentioned, it's not expensive. At the time of recording, 49 Rand on Outdoor Warehouse website. Obviously, price is subject to change. But at time of recording, 50 Rand.
100%. Also, you get these emergency ponchos, but they just rain covers. But this space blanket has you can also, here's a tip, put the space blanket under your mattress. So if you're sleeping out and it's very cold, put your space blanket under your mattress. It insulates, especially if you've got a blow-up mattress, that like the air. I mean, those things, your kidneys, it's a wild night out. But you can use your space blanket.
And it's awesome to just say, I have a space blanket. Huh? Isn't that the coolest name for a product?
Have you? That thing is so noisy though.
Really?
It's like foil. It goes. But someone I know does adventure racing. She's told me before when it's like exceptionally. I mean, those people are completely. That is a next level adventure racing. They tie it around their core to keep their vital organs warm.
Oh my.
So they will run and walk, but it's like a noisy business because you're like, like with this space, but it's like around their heads, and they use it as insulators. So don't leave without your space blanket, basically, nutshell.
That's great.
Then a dry pouch for your phone. We rely a lot on our phones when it comes to navigation, taking pictures of all the beautiful flowers, blah, blah. You don't want, and emergencies, obviously. So a dry pouch for your phone when the weather's not great is always a good idea. Those dry pouches are just wonderful. You can use them wherever. You can put anything. You can put your earpods in them. Just keep your phone dry. And then a headlamp. I mean, we all live through load shedding. But a headlamp in the outdoors, especially, again, you can't foresee what's going to happen. If you're going to spend the night, you want light. And the phone light isn't great. I've tried it. Doesn't work. The headlamp is just having a reliable, and I prefer the ones that recharge with a cable and not the batteries, because also all the batteries. Those headlamps are wonderful, and you just chuck them in your bag. I've got one in my bag right now. It's like this built-in safety mechanism that start happening where you're just like, oh, I'm ready for an adventure at any point of my life with my laptop bag. Anyway, so the headlamp is a great, and I've got the LED Lenser HF4 Core rechargeable one, which I think is a great one. And then always get a navigational app on your phone, not Google Maps. So Gaia, AllTrails, or Maps.me. Download the area that you're in before you leave for your adventure. Yes. Don't get there and realize you don't have signal. Now you also can't navigate. And you can pre-map things, and it's a wonderful and very often free way to discover trails in your area. All trails, especially the free version. You put your location in, it shows you all the hiking trails and trail running trails around you.
Wonderful.
Especially if you're traveling, etc. It's a wonderful tool. I mean, tech has come so far in this space that you're able to. Your phone is literally your lifeline. Even if you don't have signal with these things. So I would always recommend have those things ready, download the area you're in, and you're good to go.
There we go. That's a pro tip. All these products you can find at outdoorwarehouse.co.za. And what a fun conversation, what a necessary conversation we had today. And we thank you for taking your time out and visiting us here in studio.
I feel like this was a call to action.
Yes.
And I'm sure not only for me, but for many people listening. So thank you for that, Lou. We needed it.
Only a pleasure. And I'll be your personal guide if you want to do a Lions Loop.
Okay,
we can start it slow. Okay. Let's do it.
Okay.
You said okay, did you?
Yeah, I heard. I heard.
And that's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Spotify, and you can find us on Apple, and at outdoorwarehouse.co.za. There's a link for the podcast there as well. The link says podcast, so click it in and have a listen. Also, go check out projectflamingo.co.za for all the information, a bit more information about what they do and how special this website and this initiative is for all the women struggling with breast cancer. Stay in the loop on the best outdoor adventures on the For Every Adventure podcast with Outdoor Warehouse.